Okay, hello. Welcome to my live unboxing of a Jane Austen Tarot. I am just going to adjust my light really quick. I'm just going to move that. Okay. All right. How are you? If you're here with me, go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know you're watching. And welcome to the live unboxing of a Jane Austen Tarot. I am a huge Jane Austen fan, and I saw these and I just had to have them. And if you've watched my lives and if you've been on my channel, you know that I'm normally like in front of a different kind of like spiritual backdrop. Hi, Russell. He's watching. And but today I decided we needed a little bit more of ambiance for Jane Austen. So here at my dad's house here up north in Michigan, there's a room just full of antiques, and I thought that would be perfect where I am right now to do a live unboxing of the Jane Austen Tarot. If you are a Jane Austen fan, let me know in the comments. Very excited to unbox this. I tried to do a little bit of a hairstyle, but we'll see. I thought I'd just dress the part today. All right, so my name is Alexandra Berardi. If you're new to my channel, you are in the right place if you are ready to embody your electric radiance, spark your third eye open, and connect to the universe. So welcome my regular followers and welcome my new followers. I'm very excited to have you here. So I'm going to be unboxing this. I'm also going to do a card pull from this deck today for the collective, for those of you who are watching live or on the replay. So stay tuned till the end when I do a little card pull for you, and you'll get a message for today. All right. So when I saw these, I actually got these at Barnes and Noble. And I don't do a lot of shopping out these days. I mean, I think like everybody, we're ordering things online more and more, right? But I happen to be in Barnes and Noble, and I love books. I am just a book hound, so I have a ton of books, and I love buying books. And I do read some ebooks, but I really just love touching books. So anyway, I was in the spiritual new age section, and I saw that they also had tarot decks there. And those of you who know me know I've been reading tarot since I was 11, so most of my life. And I saw these and I was like, what? Jane Austen? I love Jane Austen. So I'm a huge fan of Jane Austen, and I just had to have these. Now, the first thing, before I open these up, I like the feel of this box. It has this feel like it's old timey. It has a little bit of a texture. It kind of feels like it could almost be handmade, although it isn't. You know what I mean? It's mass produced. But my husband Russell and I were in Colonial Williamsburg in the summer, and that was such a fun trip. Because I am a history nut. And we learned a little bit about paper making during that time period. And paper was made actually from leftover fabric scraps. And I didn't really know or put that together. You always just kind of think like, oh, paper's made out of wood, right? Trees. Like we're always like talking about like, oh, we really need to produce more paper and kill more trees. But back then, it was actually made with fabric scraps. And so then I had to get on YouTube and I had to learn a little bit more about how do you make paper out of fabric scraps. So it's an amazing process. I won't go into all the details. I'm not an expert in it, but there are plenty of YouTubers out there doing it. But that's what I kind of thought. I was like, oh, this texture makes me feel, it feels like it could be that linen paper, right? Which is what Jane Austen would have been writing on. So she wouldn't have been writing on the paper that we're accustomed to. This would be much thicker and have a different texture. And just really amazing. So anyway, I thought of that when I touched this box. And let's just look at the box a little bit before we open it here. It has A Truth Universally Acknowledged, A Jane Austen Tarot deck, 53 cards for divination and gameplay from Jacqui Oakley. I tagged her on my Instagram post when I made the notification yesterday that I was going to go live unboxing this. So my first bone of contention with this deck is that it's only 53 cards, and yet it's called a tarot deck. And if you're a tarot reader, you know that tarot decks have 78 cards, 22 major arcana, and then 56 minor arcana made up into 4 trumps. So I'm interested to see what's inside this and why we're calling it a tarot deck. So right now, it seems like it's probably more of an oracle deck. And oracle decks, like, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want, right? You can, have one card. You can have 8,000 cards for a deck. It doesn't make a difference. So you can do whatever you want with an oracle deck. But tarot does have some rules. So that we'll see. We'll see what happens when we open this deck up. But I am still really excited. The back says it is a truth universally acknowledged that any person in possession of a sense of destiny must be in want of ... a tarot reading. So obviously that's the fun part of this, right? A quote from Jane Austen, but ending in something new. So it says, Jane Austen is your oracle with this handsomely illustrated tarot deck featuring timeless characters and iconic symbols from her most famous works. It might just guide you toward your own fantastic future. I like that. That's fun. All right. And we have 53 cards for divination and gameplay with guidebook. And copyright 2020. So these came out last year, and again by Jacqui Oakley. So she's the artist and then the creator. So both one and the same. All right. And these were US dollars, $18.99. So I was like, yes, of course I'm buying it. Less than $20 for a tarot deck or an oracle deck? Absolutely. That's a no-brainer, right? It's surprising to me how it seems like, I don't know, maybe I'm having a Mandela effect, but I feel like prices of oracle and tarot decks have gone down. And I feel like in the past, and seriously, I could just have slipped into a different dimension or reality. But it feels like they're much less expensive these days. So I don't know. So anyway, that was a no-brainer. So I have this handy dandy little letter opener to help me open this up, because there is a little plastic sticker that I have to get through. There we go. All right, there we go. This was my mom's fun little letter opener. I love that. All right, and it opens like a box rather than the top coming off. It's gonna just open like this. So that's fun. I have a nice little box opening, and it has a little ribbon here to pull up the guidebook, which is nice because you know how sometimes you can't get down into a box to open it, right? So this is what it looks like on the inside. Cute. A Jane Austen Tarot deck. We're going to open, and this is the guidebook. So I'll come back to the guidebook. So I'll just set that aside for now, and we'll get into the cards. So the ribbon also has these cards. Oh, and the first one, oh, interesting, is an Ace of Clubs with a teapot. And I love tea, and I love teapots. And it says strength. And I love my tea strong. So I should have had a cup of tea here with us today. That's okay. So I'm pulling out the deck. And this is the back of the cards. I'm assuming they're all the same. And it says a truth universally acknowledged. And that's pretty neat. I like those. Let me just put the box aside here. So let me just start with the texture. I am really excited about the texture of these cards. It kind of feels a little bit like the outside of the box. They have a texture to them. I wouldn't say rough, but it has a texture that I like, that I feel like it's going to be hopefully good for shuffling. We'll see in a moment. But that's always like my main concern when I first get a deck, that it like takes a while to break the deck in. I've had decks that are like super slippery smooth, and then you go to shuffle and then the cards start flying everywhere, which could also be spirit causing them to fly everywhere. But it's also frustrating, right? If they're too slippery, but they can also be too rough, and then they don't shuffle as well. So let's see, right? Let's see what happens. So here's where it's a little bit different. I'm just kind of going, looking through these cards. These cards are actually like playing cards. Okay, so I'm kind of excited. I'll tell you why I'm excited in just a moment about that. But let's look at these cards. So we have clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades. So these are like playing cards. So you could actually use these as a deck, I think. Right? What? There's like 52 cards in a regular deck, right? This says 53. And I think the reason for that is there's a Joker card. And that's kind of an interesting artwork for the Joker being a lady looking off into the distance. It kind of makes me think of the Fool card in a regular tarot deck. That's what I would liken this to, the Fool card. She's looking off into the distance, like she's going to be going somewhere. Doesn't really feel like a Joker. Feels more like a Fool card. I'll come back to this. So I'm assuming then, let's just go through the clubs, just make sure we've got ace, 2, 3, I'm assuming all the way up. We've got jack, king, queen, so you can see those. So that's interesting. So I already showed you this teapot. I love this. I'm going to say this is Elizabeth and Darcy. But honestly, right, it could be almost anybody from any Jane Austen novel, because they all involve dancing and balls and finding your partner for wedded bliss, right? Ideally, they all end in a marriage. And it's like, oh, happily ever after. I always kind of wonder, what happens after? What happens after? 3, we've got some lutes and violin and probably some other kind of instrument. We've got some bonnets. We've got the devil. Who do you think that might be? Right. The tower. That one I think is maybe from Persuasion. Who wants to see? All right. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these. Let's look at, here we have the Queen, Empress. So what she's done, so the Empress would normally be a major arcana card, right? But in this case, she's made it, our artist and creator has put it as the Queen of Clubs. So, hello, devil, is Darcy? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Here's the Magician, King, the Magician, but she's chosen a female in this role, which I like. Little gender fluidity. I think women can identify as kings too, can't we? We certainly had, ancient pharaohs from Egypt, female pharaohs who identified in that pharaoh role and wore the ceremonial beards even, right? So why not? I say yes. I say yes to it. Okay. Let me just flip through a few more of these, and I do want to shuffle. And I want to tell you why I'm kind of excited, why these are almost like a regular playing deck, even though they're large. Here's a King of Diamonds. Here he is. He doesn't have an extra title, Whereas this Jack of Diamonds, the star, has a title. So there's like major arcana sprinkled in here. That's really interesting. So that will kind of give it an extra layer. Just look at a few more of these. Here's a Jack of Hearts, but again, no title on this one. Here's Queen of Hearts, High Priestess. So there's a lot of different ones in here. And this is interesting. 2 of Spades, the Hanged Man. But look, she's not hanging, right? I mean, but where would we have an incidence of that, or an instance of that in a Jane Austen novel, right? So maybe that kind of makes sense. And there's a couple pets there in the picture. I do like the artwork of this card. Here's a typical justice card, happens to be 8 of Spades. I wonder though if there was much thought put into matching these major arcana identities into like pairing them with certain numbers and certain, you know, trumps. So I'm not sure about that. We'll look at the guidebook in just a moment. So 10 of Clubs, Judgment. So we've got a few things in there. So let's look at the guidebook really quick. There's an introduction. So it says here in the introduction, this special set combines the 22 major and 56 minor arcana characters from tarot into a 53 card deck and interprets them through the world of Jane Austen. So yeah, so it's like this combination, right? Welcome to this literary realm of possibility where Elizabeth Bennet is the high priestess and Jane Austen herself is the consummate magician. Well, I do like that. I do feel that Jane Austen is the consummate magician, right? Then there's a little bit about how to read tarot. That's interesting because this isn't really a tarot deck, is it? It's a little bit different. So I don't know if the rules apply here. I would say this is more of an oracle deck and something else I'm going to come back to. So the cards, and then we go into like the major arcana being sprinkled in. As she says, we've got the minor arcana, face cards, the court cards, and then she goes into the suits. So, okay, so this is how she's combining the suits, right? So clubs are wands. Diamonds are coins. That makes sense, right? Clubs, I guess that makes sense too, like a club in a traditional sense, right? Or like a stick. Hearts are cups. That makes sense. We all know the cup, you know, suit corresponds to the heart. And then spades are swords. And yes, I agree. So I agree with this. This is a traditional matchup that way. So perfect. I'll take it. She's got some layouts. We'll skip the layouts, some different examples of layouts as you get in these guidebooks, and then the cards. And they're very simple meanings, very simple definitions, you know. So Ace of Clubs, strength, right? Go back to that teapot. I can't find it now because everything's out of order. But courage, nothing bolsters the soul like a good spot of tea. This is kind of a fun kind of definition to that, right? Nothing bolsters the soul like a good pot of tea. It's almost like you could imagine Jane Austen ladies reading this deck together to just say something like that, right? Oh, it looks like you need a good spot of tea. Nothing a good spot of tea couldn't, like, you know, cure you. Right? That's fun. It's fun. That's nice. And I was right. The Two of Clubs was Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy. Just had that feeling, right? But of course, the devil is Mr. Wickham. We all know that. He's the most, probably one of the most. There's obviously some awful characters sprinkled throughout Austen novels, but Mr. Wickham is pretty bad. He's pretty atrocious, right? He's definitely one you would say as the devil. But the devil has a multifaceted personality, doesn't he? He's very charming too, which is how people fall prey. So, very simple definitions. Like I said, I'll just kind of flip through here a couple more. That hanged man. Let's talk about that one. Two of spades, the hanged man, waiting. It says one can gain knowledge in a period of waiting and reflection, which is just about like the hanged man card, right? Catherine Morland of Northanger Abbey loves to pass the time by reading. So this could just be a fun, it almost feels like a light reading, right? Like, oh, look, just, you need a little more patience, read a good book in the meantime. But certainly some really cool channeled messages could come through that. Like certainly I could imagine myself giving a reading and that card coming up and perhaps a specific book comes to mind in through the channeled message to offer some guidance to my client, right? Okay, let me just see if there's anything else besides these definitions. There's a little blurb about Jacqui Oakley. She lives in with her husband in Hamilton, Ontario. So that's nice. She's Canadian. And yep, and I tagged her on Insta. So let's do a little reading, shall we? Here's the other thing I wanted to say just before I start shuffling these beautiful cards. Because this is basically like a regular card deck, but with other symbology sprinkled in, this could actually be a wish card deck. So in addition to reading tarot and oracle, I also read Maltese wish cards. And it's a very obscure type of way to read cards, but you would actually take some of these cards out of the deck. So I won't go into complete full explanation of reading for that right now, but maybe I will do a wish card example sometime on this page. But you do use a regular plain deck for it, and this could be a nice way to merge that type of reading. So that's kind of exciting. I might try a wish card reading with this very deck. So let's see how these shuffle. All right. I like to do this tapping just as a way to ground and kind of clear these cards from any kind of energy. A lot of times I will smudge my decks, put crystals on them, things like that. But if you're just opening a deck for the first time, I like to kind of do this. And I do this a lot when I'm shuffling to continually clear the deck from the last reading. Okay, so here we go. Oh yeah, these are shuffling nicely. So I do like the feel of them. I don't feel like any cards are going to go flying unless spirit causes them to go flying. Well, let's go ahead and bring in a message today for those watching, whether you're here live or on the replay. It will be valid for you no matter the time you are watching this, and valid for the collective right now. All right, let's see what this one says. Ooh, 6 of Hearts, the Lovers. If you are in a relationship, sparks are going to fly today and coming up. Utilize this time to really anchor into your partner. And if you're not in a relationship yet, be on the lookout because it is coming your way. But I would say look with discernment, because we are right now, And so you might have a lover coming up from the past. I would say it's not necessarily wrong to have a little tryst with someone from the past, but Spirit is clearly telling me you shouldn't think of that as a long-term relationship. So if you are on the lookout for a long-term relationship, please have discernment if a lover from your past shows up right now. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for tuning in today. Go ahead and follow me on TikTok for card pulls. I'm going to be posting some here as well in the shorts. And I will be doing more videos here on the channel coming up. So please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like this video if you liked it. And hit that notification bell to get a notification when my next video comes out. And I will see you soon. Have a great day.